thanks, Randy, and thanks for the invite here, and we're glad to kind of continue this topic. It's been a really interesting session so far on focusing on our cows and thinking about what we need to do to help our efficiency in our cows, how we need to keep growing, how do we need to handle things like sustainability, like we talked about here just a minute ago. And I want to kind of give some background on what we've been doing for years at research center, and some of the things that have really helped us develop our vision for why we're looking at some of the things we are and where we're going to go. We need to think about as we go here, and this is animal breeders keep going, but we need to think about what are we looking at in terms of variation here. Always important, and what are we looking at in terms of what we can be collecting as phenotypes, right? And so all the time here, and this has been off through all of this, is what are we phenotyping and how can we use that and keep moving forward? And that's kind of a take home here. We talked about different traits like fortune, efficiency, and efficiency complex. What do we need to do to drill down a little bit deeper to maybe get further in what we want to go with? I hope this helps you think about that. A lot of this came from slides I presented earlier at BIF in this historic context, and kind of one, but it's all really useful to look at again. So we've talked about this for the past couple of days now. What is efficiency and why is it important, right? Everybody wants it. I think we all know that. But what is it? It's kind of like talking about things like sustainability right now. What do you mean by that? And where are you going to go with it? What is it? It could be a lot of different things. And most of the ways we define it really are what are we defining for our herder population? Cows mean for cows mean for cows closed, cows mean for unit of energy. Total wean rate per unit of land, whatever the case might be. And these are all things we do on the whole population primarily, but we need to be able to get to traits that are affecting these in terms of what we can measure on individuals if we're going to measure genetics, right? These are the components of that, at least as I see it, and you could be adding some other things here that probably would be contributors as well. These are the things we've been talking about here the past few days, right? We want to make sure we're developing calves every year. We want to make sure we're increasing our intake or helping our energy overall. Make sure we're looking at survival disease could be in that. Growth, intake, calf overall longevity, what's going on, and a lot of these are predicted by incorrect measures instead of measuring these things correctly. As we just talked about, there's a lot of cost to actually getting something in, and a lot of these really depend on what the compliance is of our producers to turn these things in. If we're going to really make real genetic change. So let's think about how we can do that. I'm going to start out here by reviewing some of our old literature here, and these came from the Germ Bio Evaluation Program that Randy mentioned here at the beginning, where we've been evaluating for each year. This came from some of our historic data when GP was running a cycle, as well as our germ plasm utilization study, where we really looked at big heterosis and ended up with a lot of different breed comparisons with that. What I want to temper on these older results that I have here is that these really help inform our view of what we need to be doing in terms of efficiency, but these have some old breed differences in them, and they may not be turned anymore because of how much our breeds have changed by that, but their take home message is still important with that. And then I want to go on and talk about what we're trying to do now interesting where our current snapshot of the industry are and like what would be doing in the future. So it's hard to go on with talking about energetics and efficiency overall in town without bringing up Tom Jenkins and Cal Farrell. We did a whole lot of work in this area in the 80s and 90s. And one of the things they showed, and this is a little bit different than what Dave talked about yesterday, so it's kind of our where do things go in terms of energy required. But if you look at cows, and like I said, I don't want to worry about trees, but you have an Angus Hereford on the left side right here, and see if I can figure out how this works well here. So you have Angus Herford over here, right? And then you have, I think, parlay. So that will be representing a low milk group here. Yeah, I can get it very well. The Jersey would be the next one, high milk, low growth. And then the time to consider all high milk, high growth at the same time. And what you'll notice from this is the main activity requirements, if you have the machinery to produce high milk or higher in these breeds as a breed effect. And the ones that didn't have that same thing for milk, maybe were a little bit lower. Obviously, the Jersey is not high in maintenance as the milk, the growth potential is also used for maintenance and what they were able to do with all these things. And just realize that full energy picture is a combination of all the things. Another study that both of these guys worked on was trying to look at overall biological efficiency of several different breeds at the time. And this included fertility, this included intake. What they did with this, they had 5 different levels of intake where they restricted feed on 2 lower levels. That's kind of the left side of the chart here. And then they had sort of a normal feed on middle and an overfed on 2 right, against this. And looked at where you could have efficiency best if you were restricted on feed. So if we think of our western states where we might be very limited on our feed resources, and maybe eastern states here like Tennessee where we might not be as limited on our feed resources, which breeds seem to fit the best, and you see what the main result of this is a lot of difference between breeds at the time based on what they're able to do. And as the real drivers of this, much of this is actually driven by a variation in fertility rate, where some of the breeds did really, really well even on restricted feed, and some of the breeds did really, really bomb if you restricted their feed and were not producing every year. And this again, I don't want to take home messages about which breeds did the best. Things have changed, so I have changed things over here. But one of the main drivers is really variation in that fertility rate, and we'll make more animals are able to do when they're on those restricted diets or in those resources. Don't want to spend much time on this, but these were efforts to try to look at efficiency over all of these breeds and where animals were doing better or doing a little bit worse. And you can comment out overall efficiencies if you look at this based on whether animals were going to be based on the components of this, fertility, energy, so forth, weight gain. The components, which animals and would do the best on overall efficiency as a result of this. Again, I don't want to focus on breeds, but these were waste temporary in our results and making sure that we're seeing what animals are doing and what's popular in terms of their energy production, energy use, that's overall weight and what they have per pound. And this is very similar. I don't spend too much time on these. That's kind of being our picture. We think that overall milk production, overall growth potential, overall fat potential are really important for thinking about what the cost of keeping that calorie is. I don't think that's new to anybody with what we've seen for the past few days, but tempered where we want to go and what type of variation we see. This next slide goes into that fertility picture a little bit better, and you know, here the animal research for results we're often talking about before the heterosis, and this just really highlights the importance of heterosis in terms of longevity and what happens over time in a crossbred versus the purebreds of both lines that we're in these studies right now. This is the primary growth river, and I guess there need to be results over time, and a summary of that. And what you can really see is that there's a real competitive advantage to keeping that crossbred around. Fabulous form. That's right here. And like we talked about yesterday, we end up with about 1.3 extra years production on average for the crop for the animal, along relative to your grass, right? Big deal. And if we want to talk about quick changes and how you can make real impact right away, a lot of just head to crop seed. We had some discussions yesterday in a Warren Snelling's committee on the home commission in terms of what's happening with the accumulated inbreeding. This feature gregariety for sure. Think of it that way, but really need food for E2. What's inbreeding doing for our fertility picture? This outcrossing is a way is probably more work now than what it was with the study, and trying to make sure that we're getting heterosis, maybe cancer possible to inbreeding effect in creating a efficiency picture for our fertility overall. So just a legitimate question, and I said this earlier, are these three differences and saying no, they're not, absolutely not. And I don't want to take home messages on three differences from that overwork, but I do want to update you on where some of the things are for three differences overall in our GE program. I focus a lot on farm growth and efficiency because of those the things that they started our EGP program and we're able to measure very well. But we really want to look at longevity, survival, fertility, and years as well, and see what we can answer with that. So I'm starting with couple weeks, and this is also a little bit older slide. This is from cycle of the germplasm program, where they're kind of was the irony recent cycle. And it's also from earlier cycles with that same program that was sampled in the 70s. So the red bars come from the 1970s, the blue bars come from sampling in the late 1990s. And there's differences here that are not completely three differences because they depend on the cows they were bred to, and cows they were bred to got larger at the time. These are in kilograms right now for this slide, but what you see from old data before, and you could argue before real genetic improvement selective programs are going on, our gridded breeds were definitely much smaller, and our final breeds were much larger. And this was a body if anybody that looked at these results and if they have three biases, final breeds would always grow bigger than gridded breeds, and that was one big advantage for the United States. What's happened over time, and in the late 90s, I think that the gridded breeds have definitely caught up and are able to see continental regions per weight at that. So this is the current, this is 20 years old now, plus what are we looking at today, and how are we doing this? The real point, and we've talked about this through the session yesterday, is there's been a lot of convergence in breeds already at the 1990s level, and where they've come to and what their growth potential is, and how is that impacted our caliber side. Okay, so let's continue to look at that for where we are today. This is a lot. You guys have seen these slides probably from our DT program several times before. We produce these every year. This is a lot of the reason for the convergence is there's a lot of breeds that are chasing a very similar target in terms of growth and trying to do the same thing for that breed. Making sure that we're getting there. To the point where, as you see, the British breed started much lower in general, over on the left side of the chart, and now are either in mix or at the highest growth potential breeder right now in the United States system. Right? This is true for yearling weight, it's have the same kind of carcass weight, so this is a lot of those things. So in order to look at it now, I need to give a little background on our GDP population structure, what we're doing. Randy mentioned about 18 breeds simultaneously. And what we try to do is continue to example these breeds from the industry in collaboration with our breed associations. We try to get the animals that are representative of where the breed is going based on their genetic ground, we try to get the averages, based on projection of where the genetic ground they're going, realize the desire that they will need, they're going to be about 4 or 5 years ahead of the generation ahead of what their genetic ground is going to be. We also try to make sure we're producing intellectual sires, and we want for collecting for intellectual sires, we want the sires products overall. And so that part of the conservation is tree association is the attributes that impact the tree, and we try to say which ones fit would be kind of set the going steps. And so we bring these 19 breeds out, we cross those up with purebred and crossbred cows overall to produce steers and heifers that will evaluate either terminal traits or traits that will be for fertility. Produce purebred bulls out of the program, also to clean up our AI program. And we end up with a very large dial type cross that may not have all the cells, but hopefully it's a lot of cells. But we target cell the answer that they can, but it's not every variability is snatched up to where the breeds are. Okay. So to get on to growth a little bit, we want to compare those continuous breeds very forward, we'll do that. And look at mature weight and see what we got for the properties of that. That slide is a little bit dated. This is a more recent result that looks at how 15 years of that continuous BT program with 18 breeds right now. And what are the mature weight differences now we see to those breeds? And again, our greatest breed with the most selection is again one of the highest in terms of mature weight as a raw value relative to all the other breeds. But what everybody also see here is these breeds are well within error in general of each other. So the differences between these breeds and Angus really isn't much. If you look at the errors, if you double that, essentially that's what it is different from Angus. This same study also looked at body condition score right here, and what composition of that mature weight is and where they are. The way you end up with is a lot of breeds that are about to near probably at mature weight and what Angus is not a surprise. I don't think it's what we've been talking about so far. The middle column is if you were to adjust that mature weight for the condition score, and that actually converges things quite a bit more. What I see here, if I'm looking at this, is a lot of breeds that come to similar mature weight. What's the cost of the energy might be a little bit more in this column if we talk about that and differences overall that. Where we need to be going and what do we have from our internal breed here right now if we're trying to make sure that our cow herd is something manageable. Mark Paul gave a talk yesterday in the breed stratification section very similar to this on trying to make sure we have moderate types of cows or smaller types of cows and we use our terminal crossing to take advantage of terminal traits together. If you look at this right now, what breed do we got that the strong maternal candidate? I think we're just looking at growth. And tough picture at the moment. We've got some that are definitely smaller in terms of mature weight. Some of the smallest breeds probably have some of the energy costs to build. So well, and this is the type of thing we need to think about with what's happening. We talked yesterday in our sessions about stocking rates and how that's changed over time with these larger mature sized cows. We also talked about how many of our producers are actually weighing cows. I have asked several producers that have the same question some of the other people have experienced. What do your cows weigh? A lot of them will say 1,100 pounds. Right? Yeah, we get a lot of that, right? How many cows do you really think for 1,100 pounds is an average at 6 years of age? Not very many. And the function is people just aren't necessarily weighing these cattle, not seeing what they are, and people are putting cattle out in the pasture because they're because that's the number of valuable there. Instead of thinking about what that's doing. situation that they can't keep up with. What do we need to be doing to think about our overall productivity in this regard? One take home from this that I want to, one implication of this, I'm talking a lot about growth here, but this isn't the whole picture, and I want to talk about that with some of the other things that are involved in the efficiency that we look back and forward to. So calories, there seems to be some opportunity for recomplementarity, but I'd argue that is limited, given that we've all moderated for growth very similar goal. These are preliminary results, of course, and we will continue to update these over time, but it does show what we need to think about for the future. So this is our efficiency picture overall, and if we think about life cycles, how we're selecting from. We have animals here that are cow herd, that are growing, that become part of the cow, and we've got animals that are finishing. And if we think about the connection between those, we might have abstinence in each of these groups that are connected to each other. One of them's eating grass, one of them's eating corn, right? And then we have other ones that we look at and that heteron on one side is becoming a balance today. And do we worry about the growth of the cow at the same time, or do we just worry about our overall intake, but the efficiency that will really develop? So traits are difficult to measure, to get intake on everybody. You all know how short that is, even though the US has a lot of records that have looked at the last it's still much more limited than we have. If we think about the heifers and the steers, this is study Kelly and Pellet led for a master's degree and worked on GT data as well here. There's real differences again in terms of efficiency of gain. Much of these are moderated by what the growth potential or how much lean potential there is in the breed relative to how much fat potential there is in the breed. That goes along with our quality traits. That picture is not a discouragement at all. It's part of what we have with the average demand today. But there are opportunities if we look at these breeds where you have animals that might not have as high a growth, but very similar growth. For instance, if you look at the here on steers that here have a much lower intake compared to what I have to do with feed intake. They're very similar growth potential on the steers on the finishing diet. And you go through here, you see some of those efficiencies overall. I'd say a lot of that, like I said, is probably just being where we're putting on in terms of energy and in terms of that versus the breeds overall. But the question now, in terms of building a better cow, is what are the implications of this for so if we think about cow efficiency, we did a study not too long ago that summarizes some of the advanced generations from the same type of work I showed earlier, looking at 7 different breeds, the breeds that have the most impactful in the United States. Those 7 breeds listed right there. And we brought cows in when they were 5 years old in this advanced generation and tried to determine energy and efficiency using measures of growth and efficiency by restricting those animals for a number of days while they're dry, and then allowing them to eat and live after that and see how much they gain on the agave relative to how much they ate. So kind of modeling a typical test efficiency period similar to what we did on the severe characters. And these are some of the results of those in terms of breed differences. Some of these are actually significant. These advanced generation have difficulty going breed type apart as well as what correct F1 cross middle. But that said, even though not significant quite, so many of these same intakes and gains are similar to what we saw on those heifers. So the breed differences they will learn, especially in intake range, but not significant, but they're very similar magnitude. If we look at the correlation though, and this is the important thing out of this, if you look at what we thought of the centers on the earlier study with same data that Kelly we see some pretty good correlation in our dry lock down versus our dry lock throwing in terms of irrigation. So there's a lot, this is really positive. We should be able to see real gains in efficiency on our collection of our heifers that are yield results in those cows overall. And I think that's a really important in terms of that correlation, especially as hard as it is to measure efficiency. One thing to temper on this is our dry lot. This is my count for the selection cows will be making if they're running pasture, and we really need to think about what we could be measuring on free-choice grazing relative to what we're seeing on feeding examples in a dry lot. Which is a challenge now indeed for sure relative to what we were just hearing today. The last study I want to talk about, and this is the important thing on point that I it's just about growth. We're really interested in overall energy being used for maintenance and what's the cost of maintaining that body size, how do we do that? I work with the nutritionist, or we work with the nutritionist on this, are really involved on this whole mindset here, and he was trying to get an idea of metabolizable energy, which is kind of the energy before we simplify that energy to growth, that energy for maintenance. If we could see differences in that metabolizable energy, and if the metabolizable energy is variable. So this is a separate study. This is actually the descendants of the studies for differentiation that I did before, the differences we had and on that study. Cows in this case were fed in their second trimester, so they're training a little bit. And fed in temporary breeding groups where heifers that were born in that previous study were kept as together groups over time for about 5 years and brought back in to gauge after that. Intake period was 84 days, waited every 3 weeks, and then metabolizer energy for maintenance was a function of that intake minus energy for pregnancy, trying to get an idea of that gestational age of the cow, and how much the cow actually eat during a feeding trial with metabolizer energy to achieve that. Okay, so that's where the metabolizer energy of our estimate came from. The important thing to think about here is this is already standardized at our count size, right? So this is adjusted for cow size and how much variation we still have in metabolizing energy overall on these cows. Okay, breed effects weren't different from 0 in the study again, and need more data to really pull that apart. But this is the distribution of that metabolizable energy and trading, and what I want you to take home from this is there's cows that be a whole lot more energy than other cows, even after adjusting for body size. The body size of the home is a full picture. This is very variable. 0.3, if we were able to continue to measure something like this, and take the industry and something to definitely get your gains on. And the important thing again is this is energy factor on each of it. So our next steps, and we're in the process of this, is to try to get fertility in the picture like I talked about before. We need updated heterosis estimates from our current breed sampling and see if we can get breed differences in variability across the small breed environment for fertility overall. I need to continue to identify variable components that of the global efficiency picture, and what are the sustainability targets that we are talking about right now, really going to be our efficiency picture overall, and how do we need to bring that in. And obviously, we want to get to index selection. So one point is when you have an index of 25 traits versus an index of 10 traits, how much energy is going to be making on those individual traits at the same time? And if we're going to keep adding things to the indices, we need to think about how much change we're going to make in some of the other things we're doing with these at the same time. having more trees definitely impedes electric progress, but it could still help the overall economic picture. So, like I said, we continue to look at longevity too. Lawrence Film did prototype this. Lawrence Snowing did look at prototype for this using random corrections, similar to what's up in our agreed association already found. And it's able to look at trying to look at cumulative pathways and one per year as a sort of alternative to scalability. Found benefits of variability with that, and I looking at the regression overall and all places where we can make changes early on, but the fact that we develop life cycle in terms of these pregnancy calculus. So we're going to continue this kind of work and see what we can pull apart and get better industry. I go back again thinking about what we're going to do on fed cattle, which is grass-fed cattle and its approaches. There we even I talked last night in the survey about what we can do to try to get a little bit better idea of what our input is on our conspiracy. We need to do a better job of that overall because that's where where the actual money that is being trying to make sure we're driving efficiency when we have that one get a key resource on that. And so these are just some ideas trying to get a little bit better, but we keep going. One closing thing I want to just highlight is that for all of these things that we're not just looking at differences in efficiency and again this one location that's outside of Nebraska, we're also trying to look at what happens with efficiency how it works we make other places and it just done shifting relatives, power relatives, special PP project and locations in Beeville, Texas. This is really instigated by Bill Thomas to do all this here with all this, so we're continuing to go with trying to make sure we're getting our power and three differences down there as well. We're also cooperating with another ARS location in Orlando, Oklahoma to pick out this kind of different vertical picture of the central United States, and we want to continue to think about opportunities for spreading this out over time. We hope we can get three differences that help understand if possible, by genetics by environment, mechanical management interactions, and possible rewrite the three slightly solve those early just for efficiency. So power efficiency remains important for us and we think center and we overall we need to think about this and we're getting a bit better with our phenotype in the industry. Measures of income potential continue to be monitored as part of this and we want to keep making sure our phenotypic records stay up to date at the operations center as well. And I want to acknowledge several people are Edison's Institute, Colorado Farm Shakers, where I kind of do a lot of work to help people older studies that really impacting our view on efficiency overall. Currently, team with Mark, Warren Kaylee, we're all here right now. Yeah, a lot of help from that side, but I'm summarizing some of these more recent studies that are help. And I want to thank our USMARC livestock applications group. So with that, I don't know if we want questions here, Randy, or if we want to wait for him.